everyone, every year at Congregation, UBC has the honor of bestowing honorary degrees upon individuals who, in the opinion of the university community, have fit the criteria of excellence, eminence, and impact in their chosen field. Marjorie Violet Birdstone is one of those individuals, and I invite her to step forward to receive her honorary degree. Marjorie. This is some nice things about you. Madam Chancellor, a member of the Ak'am First Nation and a survivor of the residential school system, Marjorie Violet Birdstone has dedicated her adult life to maintaining Ktunaxa language and culture and to the reclamation of Indigenous sovereignty through land, language, and learning. As a legal researcher for the Union of British Columbia Indian Chiefs, she made significant contributions to advancing land and environmental claims of BC First Nations communities. She's also brought attention to Indigenous priorities through extensive contributions to First Nations journal publications, providing analysis of political and social issues confronting First Nations throughout BC. In addition, she is renowned as a compelling educator whose engaging presentations and scholarly contributions have created new understanding for linguistic theories and appropriate practices within educational institutions nationwide. We're very pleased to note that these institutions include UBC, where she's been instrumental in guiding linguistic researchers and students to engage in Ktunaxa language documentation and research. Among other wide-ranging activities, she founded the Lower Mainland Ktunaxa language class and continued teaching online during the pandemic, making the language accessible to people across Canada and the United States. Madam Chancellor, in recognition of extraordinary contributions as a language activist and educator, and for maintaining Ktunaxa language and culture against the encroachments of colonialism, I ask you to confer the degrees Doctor of Laws, Doctors of Letters, honoris causa upon Marjorie Violet Birdstone.
By the authority of the Senate of this university, I confer upon you, Marjorie Violet Birdstone, the title and degree of Doctor of Letters, honoris causa.
Go.
There we go.
And now for your convocation address, please welcome Dr. Birdstone to the podium.
Good afternoon to each and every one of you, graduates, family, friends. My last name, Birdstone, tells a story about the Kootenai Indian Residential School. My grandfather attended, and which I attended years later. It is located in the East Kootenai, near Cranbrook, BC, and is now known as the St. Eugene's Hotel. The school was established and run by the Catholic Oblates to educate the Tunaqa children in 1890 and closed in 1970. However, it accepted the overflow of the Kamloops Indian students from the Kamloops Indian Residential School, Silex, and some Secwepemc children who were sent to the Kootenays from Kamloops. One story is that Moses, my grandfather, was considered a stubborn boy. During his time at the school had cattle and horses, since the students were trained to farm and raise stock. One of the horses was called Birdstone, and it was known to be a stubborn horse. A nun compared my grandfather to be as stubborn as the horse Birdstone, and the name stuck with him. He was a successful rancher and farmer, and I never heard of him being a difficult person. My parents were both Tunaqa, my mother from the Columbia Lake area, north of Cranbrook, and my father from the Cranbrook area. They spoke mainly Tunaqa in the home and English to purchase goods in the town of Cranbrook. I must have spoken some English when I went to the residential school, the same one that my grandfather attended, since I remember I would interpret for my younger cousin who spoke no English. We became best buddies and allies against the nuns who were charged with our care. The children would enter the residential school in September, knowing little or no English, and by Christmas, they put on a Christmas pageant in English. The audience were our parents and guests of the nuns and priests. At home, my sisters and I heard both Tunaqa and English spoken. Our parents mostly spoke Tunaqa to each other. My mother, when visiting me in the city, always spoke the language to me. As I grew older and began moving to other parts of Canada to work, I heard less and less Tunaqa. With the loss of our parents, we were left not hearing the language being spoken as often as it was. Hearing my language spoken, or hearing our language spoken, was a different way of looking at the world sometimes. And it explained how the universe was connected to the humans. So when the opportunity arose to work as a Tonaha speaker in the linguistics department here at UBC, I had to consult a few friends before accepting the offer, as I had no idea what it entailed. And what I found was that I would be sharing my language with students. They would be consulting me, interviewing me, and I would provide the Tonaha to them while they were recording our language. So this was, I found this very helpful and thought that it was a good time to be recording our language, which is or was becoming endangered, and the speakers were becoming fewer and fewer. I am grateful that the opportunity arose and I was able to contribute to the documentation of our language, which it is on the World Endangered Language List. Dacha husukil okne kusil tchamo tunacha aklokakwum. Thank you. I am grateful that I've had the opportunity to share my story about our language, which is slowly being revived. And it is being revived by our communities setting up, having language lessons to the children, to our schools, and for the older generation through online learning classes. Thank you.